Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about achieving your goals and doing your life's work according to our ancients. Now, everyone that you love and admire, we're talking about your favorite authors, musicians, artists, cinematographers, athletes, all of them are doing something a little bit different from you. They're perceiving and navigating their life in a slightly different way. And once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. All of them had to go through a certain mental shift in order to begin doing their life's work at the quality in which that they're performing in right now that you love so much. When coming up with these mental shifts that they've made, I studied both Daoism and Stoicism, two of humanity's great philosophical traditions, and I've borrowed an idea from each of these traditions to come up with today's video. If you think that you're looking for actionable philosophy that you can use to elevate your experience, be sure to subscribe to my channel. This is all I do over here. Hit the like button on this video as well. Now, let's get into it. Most of you have an inkling. There's a voice within you that's telling you that there's something more you should be doing. There's a creative impulse that's being left unfulfilled. There's something within you telling you that you could be doing more. You can level up. Now, when you actually do come around to doing what you believe is your life's work or your innate talent, you can't seem to get it to the finish line. You can't publish it, or you can't seem to get around to getting started. Now, it's very likely that the reason for all of this is that there's a voice in your head that's telling you that you're not good enough. You're judging yourself, you're being self-critical. You're telling yourself that you don't want to produce something that's below par and not worthy of who you really are. I remember when I felt this way, there was something in me that needed to come out, but I just wasn't able to produce it. And because I wasn't able to do this, my life was beginning to feel really disappointing and anticlimactic. I didn't want to go to the grave with my gifts, especially when I knew that the quality of my life would be so much better if I actually shared them. Life can feel like, wow, I'm actually alive right now. When you tap into your talents and are able to bring them out, and when you're able to share them with the world, the only thing that's keeping you from feeling this way is self-sabotage. The self-sabotage is denying you and the world of your gifts. But there's a lot of hope, because our ancients had to contend with the same issues, and they documented exactly what worked. There's two terms you need to remember today. The first is Wu Wei from Daoism and Amor Fati from Stoicism. When you get a grasp of Wu Wei, it reveals to you an approach to work where it's less about the goal and more about doing the work with a present and quiet mind. Some athletes call it entering a flow state, where your mind shuts off and the body takes over, doing the actions that need to be taken. As Alan Watts puts it, Wu Wei is based on the knowledge of the tide, the drift of things, going with the flow. It is the art of sailing rather than rowing. Let's make this more concrete. Achieving Wu Wei requires 5 steps. The first step is to understand what is your next best step that you need to take. Make sure that you're working on your highest priority item, because if you're not going to do that, you're never going to be able to achieve meaningful progress on your project. The second step then is to tune into your body and mind. Really tap into how you're feeling at that moment. Are you more inclined towards doing something more creative, or maybe you'd rather engage in some curious learning, or sometimes you're just ready for some mundane, repetitive tasks. And then the third step would be to put yourself in the right environment for what it is you're going to do. If you're going to engage in something that requires creativity, get yourself into a setting that is conducive to inspiration, like where I am right now. Your fourth step then is to dedicate uninterrupted time for your work. Set a timer and tell yourself that for the next 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to do just one thing and one thing alone. And when you're done with those 20 to 30 minutes, stretch and reward yourself, and then go back and start your next block of work. And then finally, and I find this the most important, is you have to liberate yourself. Liberate yourself from having to produce at a certain standard. Don't forget that Wu Wei is not about the goal, but it's about putting in the work in a quiet and present mind. When the work is done and you sit back, you can't help but evaluate what you've put out. And this is when we can now look towards the Stoics for their wisdom on Amor Fati. This is work based on your unique aptitude, and it's likely that you're going to be looking at things from a very high standard. You've got good taste for the work that you produce, and if you're just getting started, it's likely not going to be where you want it to be. Amor Fati means loving your fate. It's a radical acceptance of everything that happens. It's an understanding that we don't really have a grip on the big picture plan of things. And it's about keeping faith that whatever happens, happens for the greater good. It's a radical acceptance of everything. And when it relates to your life's work, it's about taking what it is that you've produced and loving it no matter what. Instead of getting bogged down by how good or bad our work turns out to be, Amor Fati allows us to maintain a mental equilibrium where we keep our calm and focus so that we can adapt and continue to do the work we're supposed to do. As Epictetus said, do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. Sometimes what we want is different from what life allows, but at the same time, we have to create and express what lies within us. Being in tune with the stream of life and going with its flow is the secret of our ancients for effective work. Loving everything we produce and having the faith that all the outcomes are really for our benefit allows us to maintain our peace and joy. And here's the secret. Amor Fati maintains our frame of mind that gives us the clarity to actually strategize our evolution and iteration of our next production. When you have the wisdom that the goal is to do the work with a quiet and present mind, and that you must love every outcome, you enter into a really clear and focused mind frame from which you can make incremental improvements each time. And as you continue to do this, the volume of your work begins to go up. And then you'll find that the standard with which you produce improves as well. You begin to start measuring up to your high tastes. And suddenly you find that you're bringing forward your special gifts with the frequency and quality you've always dreamed of. But most importantly, this is when you begin to feel like your life is beginning to flourish. The world needs your special gifts and talent, and the Daoists and the Stoics have taught us exactly how to bring this forward. This is actionable and practical philosophy that's relevant for our modern world. And if you thought today's video was useful, please be sure to subscribe. Maybe you might find something in there that is just the key you need to unlock your potential and set you free. Before we say goodbye, also be sure to hit the like button below. And until next time, I send you my love.